Friday night, I got a banging score from Barkla and a decisive from my captain Julian Brandt. There were sparkles glistening in my eyes as I could see the Sorare promised land in sight, but then a sight for sore eyes is this DNP that plagued Nuno Mendes. Super fucking sad right there, because this specific weekend I did my team's Thursday night. I looked for all of the matches for my players, and based on the predictions, I put what I thought was my best foot forward. Now in this Champions Classic team, I obviously went for Nuno Mendes here, who on Thursday night at the time of doing my lineup was 60% to play according to Sorare Insight. Still a risk in its own right, of course, but I went for it as I expected PSG to win comfortably, which they did. If we then check Sorare Insight, this was updated on the Friday morning at 9:30, of course confirming that Nuno Mendes was not going to be with the squad, which is super fucking sad, as I've said. Now all of this is to be expected as new information comes in over the week ahead of the game week deadline, so I'm certainly not blaming the predictor for my DNP here. I hate people who blame the prediction sites for their DNPs, I have to say. It's my fault, mostly for not confirming a risky option on the day, and it just makes me think, what's the point in me, as a Sorare manager, doing my lineups any earlier than the Friday? With what we're playing for, the money we've invested, and the scores needed in trying to win big, you just have to avoid the obvious DNPs. It's that simple, and that's where these prediction sites come in clutch. They're a must-have, and that's with myself having no affiliation to Sorare Insight or Predictify, for example. You just have to use them. You can't trust Sorare data predictions. But for me, from now on, I will be setting my teams every Friday a few hours into the deadline game week closing. And that's just how it's going to have to be, because I don't want to get DNPs like this ever again in my life if I can help it. Maybe I'll start posting a Wednesday reward video and the Friday live stream of me doing my lineups. Would you lads and ladies like that if I did a live stream? No? Well, I guess I'll just go fuck myself then. Now back to this lineup that hurts my soul so badly. I can tell you for a fact the player that would have come in replacing Nuno Mendes if I had known he was unavailable would have been Maxi Mittelstadt here, who scored an 87, which is a fairly decent score. Combine that with my other scores, and I would have won a limited box. So this blunder on my end has cost me hundreds, if not thousands of pounds here. With all hyperbole aside, it hasn't cost me too much this game week. I've kind of got away with it a bit here. But hey, a box is better than no box. I would have enjoyed adding one more box to my collection. And after those Friday night scores as well, it could have cost me a lot more on another day if Doof and Rice had popped off. But onto DNPs themselves here, and I seem to be seeing a lot more discontent in the Sorare sphere on Twitter, for instance, about DNPs, being part of the game. Just Heat here was obviously not super thrilled about Ederson getting a DNP in Man City's Champions League victory. And, I get it. That's super annoying because they had a big money team out, and that DNP has probably cost them a little bit of cold hard cash money right there. And according to this tweet, no one, not even the Man City player Gundogan themselves, had any idea that Ederson wasn't going to start. So, how do you avoid that? What's the answer to avoid that DNP? And I don't know, it's not fun getting DNPs. No one likes it. But to change that part of the game at this point would be to essentially completely restructure how game weeks open and close with rolling lineup locks, for instance. It's not impossible to get that introduced, but right now, is that a priority for Sorare? I certainly imagine it's not going to be. DNPs do take a certain skill differential out of the game, but at the end of the day, players are going to rotate, what with all the extra fixtures being added nowadays and the international breaks and such. And, Sorare's answer to DNPs for them, in their mind, is effectively going to be Sorare Rivals, right? Where you can see the lineups before you have to lock in your teams. And I know that's a different subset of the game, but for me, I think in the main SO5 gameplay, DNPs are just going to be a way of Sorare life for now and for the foreseeable future. I can't see them changing it. Each team can only start 11 players on the pitch, and some of them aren't going to get in the squad. That's as simple as it's going to be. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, whether that's for the better or for the worse. But anyway, some other respectable scores keeping my most recent Sorare game week alive. Real Sociedad finally came through with a 24th place finish in the in-season competition. My captain choice was all wrong here, unfortunately, so I could have finished a bit higher, but the remaining players carried me across the line to win some cold hard cash money thanks to a great score from my doppelganger, Sergio Gomez. And I can finally open his 24/25 season card as well, right? The Sorare Thursday Club always say I'm his doppelganger, he's my doppelganger. We look the exact same apparently, so let's unleash this onto the Sorare world. Unfortunately, this time we didn't get the coveted special edition bonus, but fuck me, what a handsome man we both are, apparently. Anyway, the MLS in-season side once again comes through with a small reward here, and I have to say this lineup specifically has done me very well for the season. What with the MLS now coming to a close in the regular season, the playoffs will be coming up shortly. And this team itself cost me £60 at the time, and I'd have to say I've won upwards of £200 to £250 with this stack this season. So obviously a great return there, and a great set of players to move over into my classic team come the next season in March. And I'm certainly looking at saving any Ethereum or money rewards that I win from now up until March next year, when the new season MLS cards supposedly should launch. You know, I'd like to get some capable in-season teams at that level and in that league, because I love the MLS. It's my favourite league on Sorare. Happy to always be a part of it. And then boxes galore as well, to combine with my plan of saving them all for the 25/26 European cards to launch. Stacking them up in the account is always very nice, including my first ever rare and super rare boxes as well. So if I can gain some essence at those scarcities to, you know, maybe unlock a card or two come next season, that could be very nice as well. And now let's move over to the big elephant in the room, the big old trunk in the Sorare world right now, is the recent court proceedings against Sorare from the UK Gambling Commission. Of course, I'm from the UK, I'm from Bristol, so this affects me. What can I comment on it? Not much. You know, it's above my pay grade. I don't have a fucking clue what's going on. But from my pea-sized brain, I would say this has probably been brewing for a decent amount of time behind the scenes. Maybe know your customer is the way to go here for UK-based Sorare customers. I don't fucking know. There's also a question on tax as well, right? You know, UK tax is the operator on any winnings, not the individual winning them. So I guess some rebates would be in order. Not for me. I've never actually won enough to have to pay tax, because kind of shit at the game. But will Sorare go away completely? I don't think so. I can't see it happening, but it's certainly not a welcome sight to see. Hopefully it's just a case of the UKGC wanting their slice of the Sorare pie, and it gets thrown out at court. There's no doubt in my mind Sorare will appeal any defeats in the original courts, and it'll go up to the higher courts. I'm not a fucking lawyer, alright, but if they do lose, I'm certainly going to have to pivot this channel and the content around it. But until then, we'll do Sorare shit, so I'll catch you next time, because I love you.